Part 36. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 351. Perhaps in order to gain the trust of Guyao and Qi Changjai, Lu Qingfeng revealed one thing, that is, a not weak feiying firm in Guanghai was supported by Lu Qingfeng, and this feiying firm also therefore, it became Lu Qingfeng's eyes and ears, otherwise, only relying on the guards that old ancestor Lu placed by his side would not be able to help him find out such detailed information. Guyao secretly thought, no wonder Lu Qingfeng knew that young Master Cheng had left with second brother Tian and the others, but Ho Yingjia had no idea. Without waiting for Guyao's request, Lu Qingfeng said that feiying business will help find Tian Firong and Fatty together, and will tell them as soon as there is news. At the same time, Lu Qingfeng also directly handed over the materials for refining Yanqiao pill to Gu. Remote. Guyao took a look. This is the Yanqiao pill that blindly uses Jinyuanqiao as the main material. He has only seen the description of Jinyuanqiao in the classics, but it is the first time he has encountered it in real life. It is a rare natural material. To treasure, it can also be seen that Lu Qingfeng has a lot of money. For the gods, ordinary longevity pills play a role like a whiplash. For a cultivator who can live for thousands of years, it is trivial to add 50 years and 100 years of lifespan, while Jinyuanqiao taking it alone can increase lifespan by 50, and refining it into a longevity elixir such as Jinyuandan, its top-grade elixir can increase lifespan by 500 yuan. However, even a fifth-grade alchemist cannot guarantee that he will produce a top-grade pill by himself, especially Jinyuanqiao is rare, so there are only two sets of materials sent to Guyao. For other alchemists, it is possible to produce a top-grade pill. Lower. Guyao thought for a while and said, if you guys can wait, I would like to practice again after a while, so the chance of success will be even greater. Gap. Lu Qingfeng nodded and said, I also know that it is a bit risky to let the ancient alchemist refine it now. Since the ancient alchemist said so, I, Lu Qingfeng, will listen to the ancient alchemist. I can wait for this time and the ancestors. Guyao is not an excuse, not because he doesn't trust Lu Qingfeng and the Lu family to say this, but this medicine pill is really difficult. If he is the late nascent soul's strength, he is completely sure to produce the best medicine pill, and he doesn't want to waste this rare pill. The golden fruit at first sight. The Ho family are not worried about Ho Yingjia's life, and Guyao and the others are not worried anymore. Their unexpected blow has made the plans of all parties restrained. If they really move the two monks, it is difficult to protect these monks. It won't touch them. After all, Ho Yingjia can be taken away on the Ho family's territory and under the eyes of the Ho family, and there is no clue until now. In the Ho family, there was also a fierce controversy over this matter. Some of them firmly believed that no compromise could be made. Once compromised, there would be a second and third time. What prestige would the Ho family have in Guanghai in the future? Everyone can step on the Ho family's foot and imitate this practice, which is a joke. Some of them had to worry about Ho Yingjia's safety, so it was not too late to rescue Ho Yingjia before discussing other matters. This part of the clan who insisted on saving people was actually divided into two groups of opinions. One group was angry that Ho Yingjia had done things without consequences, but his own affairs had affected the entire Ho family into the water. Regulations. One faction is the clan behind Ho Yingjia, who share will and woe. They are optimistic about Ho Yingjia's future. Therefore, those who have stood behind him and supported him in the family over the years will surely have rich rewards in the future. Therefore, Ho Yingjia it means more to them. These people even begged to the ancestors, hoping that the ancestors could come forward and teach the behind the scenes a hard lesson. Old ancestor Ho also knew what happened in the family. Usually, there are no major events that will not disturb the old ancestor. His consciousness searched the whole island, but there was no trace of Ho Yingjia. He checked it again, but still found nothing. This shows that Ho Yingja was either far enough away from the island, or was hiding in a sufficiently concealed place. Even as the divine transformation and consciousness can be avoided. Old Ancestor Ho said, according to what they said, all the people will be withdrawn, and the wanted order has also been withdrawn. There is not only one way to hold people. What does the ancestor mean to lead people out first? Let's figure it out. Although Yingja is a little impulsive, the Ho family's face is not something that just a nameless person can beat. After Ho Lazu finished speaking, he waved the person out of his retreat. Ancestor Ho spoke, so the outside staff had to be withdrawn, and the wanted order was cancelled. The island residents who had been watching were extremely surprised. Is this a compromise? The dignified family can't find the person? Sure enough, the monks who dare to provoke the Shanghao family are not ordinary people. How can ordinary people have fun? Just when old ancestor Ho's consciousness was searching the whole island, Qi Changjai and Gu Yao, who were in Lu Qingfeng's other courtyard, noticed that their courtyard was not spared. Fortunately, they were cautious enough. Qingfeng provided them with information on several guards, and they pretended to be guards. In fact, these guards had already been dispatched to work outside. Old Ancestor Ho's consciousness could not be concealed from other ancestors on the same island. It didn't take long for Lu Qingfeng to receive a voice transmission from the ancestor. This old man really can't sit still, someone hit him. The Ho family's face, he also feels that his face is dull. Don't worry, you can let a few friends stay at ease. Don't worry about Jin Yuandan, it's the poison on your body. Should you let this ancient alchemist take a look? Lu Qingfeng hesitated. Ancestor, would that be too much? The old ancestor snorted, isn't it because you gave the opportunity to the married child? Forget it, if the ancient alchemist can really cure the married child, the old man can also remember your favor and protect you in the future. Old ancestor Lu was most worried that after he was gone, his only bloodline descendant would not be able to live for long. Originally, with King Feng's aptitude, and with his help, the chance of becoming a in the future is still very high. However, all this was ruined by that of the Ho family and his own clan. How could he not feel heartache? So this time Gu Yao and the others took Ho Yingja as a hostage. He was extremely happy, he was well tied. If the top quality Jin Yuandan can be refined, he can live for at least 500 or 600 years. With this time enough to arrange King Feng's situation, some members of the Lu family don't need to keep it. Many thanks to the ancestor Lu. King Feng's eyes were red. With such a big family, only the ancestor was sincere to him, and he didn't want to become a member of the family. To suppress the weakness of the ancestors for the tribe. In a space, Tian Firong and Fatty stayed together to discuss things, and there was a delicate and apologetic young man beside him. This was the young master Chen Yufeng that Ho Yingja was looking for. Remained in adolescence. The boy said, it's all because of me that you are in this situation. Otherwise, you will send me to a place to put me down. I will contact my grandfather to pick me up, and I will explain the reason to my grandfather. Fatty waved his hand and said, let's wait and see. It's no wonder it can only be said that some people are too self-reliant. We are in such a situation, in the final analysis, we are not strong enough. Fei Rong, you said that Gu Yao and the others will now, where is it? Could it be already in Lingyun sect? We haven't shown up, they should be anxious. Tian Firong nodded and said, they should be reunited in Lingyun section. Now that we are like this, we have to worry them again. Alas, I would have known. If I knew it earlier, I wouldn't go grab the Huo Soul Stone and provoke the of the Ho family. If he escapes from Gu Wanghai this time, one day he will come back and clean up the surnamed Ho. Will be bullying? He used to play in Yuanyang town when he was a child. Let's see what news Li Yulai will bring back this time. Fortunately, Fatty, you have made a lot of progress in the formation during this time, otherwise you will not be able to get rid of those guys tracking. They didn't dare to underestimate those family powers. During the first time they fled, they would always be found wherever they fled. After a long time, they knew that the other party had the means to track them. In the end, Fatty's potential exploded, and he released a breath that could completely isolate them. The formation method, they can adjust the breath well. It was also a coincidence that he met Chen Yufeng. At first, he didn't know who he was. At that time, Chen Yufeng's cold poison attacked and his whole body was covered in frost. Exposing the aura of Yanyan, let the other party chase after him. In a hurry, they ran away with this person, but it turned out that this person was the source of the whole incident, and the two of them couldn't laugh or cry when they knew his identity. The only way to describe their relationship is to use evil. A wave of waves appeared in the space where they were staying. The three of them were overjoyed. Fatty waved and said, "Luli, you are back." The space trembled again, and a crystal snake was exposed, but it turned out that the crystal snake was very talented. After coming to Guanghai, he awakened a kind of space supernatural power, which can integrate himself and space, and it is the most convenient to go out to inquire about news. Now, they can get rid of each other's tracking now. In addition to relying on Fatty's formation, they rely on the crystal snake's way. The crystal snake flicked its tail and seemed to be in a good mood. It opened his mouth and spat out a jade slip. Needless to say, it was robbed by the crystal snake from someone else. Fortunately, the jade slip was not worth any spiritual stones. Fatty quickly looked overjoyed, and threw the jade slip to Tianfirong, then hugged the crystal snake happily, and laughed loudly, "Ha ha, Li Yulai, you have done a great job this time, we can go back to Yunwang Island." "Well, it's so beautiful, ha ha." Tianfirong also laughed happily after reading it, and praised the crystal snake fiercely. Seeing Chen Yufeng's ignorant expression, he put the jade slip in his hand, and couldn't wait to explain to him, "Gu Yao is here to save us, they took Ho Yingjia, the cake, as a hostage, ha ha, the surnamed Ho actually had such a day, Gu Yao and the others avenged us, ha ha, that's great." Chen Yufeng fell into disbelief after reading the jade slip. In fact, he always felt that Fatty and his friends might not be able to let them retreat completely. He had thought about it, and finally he came to ask his grandfather to solve this. It's a matter of sending Fatty and the others out of Guanghai, so the Ho family can't reach out to the mainland no matter how powerful they are. Tianfirong excitedly urged, "Let's go, hurry up and go to the vicinity of Yunwang Island, and reunite with brother Gu Yaokai and the others, I can't wait." Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 352. The three of Tianfirong happily rushed towards Yunwang Island. It took a lot of time on the way. Although the Ho family's wanted order has been withdrawn, it does not mean that there are no secret people who want to arrest them, especially Chen Yufeng and them. They stayed together, so they almost took the waterway and did not dare to use the teleportation array. In this way, he didn't get lost in the sea. I have to say that thanks to Fatty, a person who is good at formation techniques, the formation method is in line with the principles of heaven, earth, and stars, so he also studied the stars of Guanghai, which is based on the guidance of the stars in the sky. I didn't lose myself. Since the news spread, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai have been paying attention to the movement of the messenger. On this day, when the two lights on the messenger finally lit up, Gu Yao was overjoyed. Tian urged, "They really listened. When the news arrives, let's go out to receive it." Qi Changjai nodded, and Yin Hua and others said goodbye to Lu Qingfeng. According to the plan that Lu Qingfeng arranged for them, they infiltrated the Flying Eagle caravan and successfully left the heavily guarded city. After they got on the sea boat with the caravan, they took their own aircraft and left alone, because when the caravan left the city, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai vaguely sensed that someone was following behind. In order not to give Lu Qingfeng's Flying Eagle the firm brought unnecessary trouble, and it was not until the sea that they separated. Yinhua stretched his back. It's really unpleasant to stay in the city, and now it's finally out, no one is following behind. Qi Changjai said, if the Great Spirit Transformation follows, we may not be able to find it. The Great Spirit Transformation deliberately hides, and they can't find it. Yinhua rolled his eyes, but he didn't think that God Transformation might be so leisurely. The sensor position in the transmitter was getting closer and closer. Guyao stood in front of the aircraft and was in a relatively happy mood. After being separated for so long, he finally reunited with Brother Tian and the others. He owed Lu Qingfeng's favor, so he stayed in his room most of the time on the way, either cultivating or trying to improve his alchemy skills, so that he could help Lu Qingfeng refine Jinyuan Dan as soon as possible. Although they also have a way to deal with the Ho family's wanton actions, they are not as easy as Lu Qingfeng's. Suddenly I sensed the wave of fighting coming from the front, especially the familiar green flame in this wave. No, it's Brother Tian and the others who have encountered the enemy, hurry over. The five immediately abandoned the aircraft and flew over at full speed. They saw dozens of monks on a deserted island besieging the three people in the middle. Although their faces were unfamiliar, the blue flame in their hands could not be hidden from everyone's eyes, including the people who besieged them. He clamored for them to be sent to Ho's house on Yunwang Island. Tianfirong screamed in anger. They escaped the arrest of the wanted order, but they did not escape the murder and robbery of the pirates, because the three of them were targeted by these pirates when they were alone, and they were just about to rest on this deserted island. Was besieged. Want to take us to Ho's house for a reward? Go and do your daydreams, this young master will send you to the underworld for a reward first. The arrogant Tianfirong poured his spiritual power into the Wanya pot, and instantly hundreds of fire the crow took off, and the densely packed temperature caused the surrounding temperature to rise immediately, and the nearby seawater was burned dry. Not only that, after the appearance of these fire crows, under the control of Tianfirong, the two merged, and the number was reduced by half in a blink of an eye, but the temperature rose even higher, and flew into the pirate crowd with Tianfirong's command. Fatty's shield didn't know what materials or formations were added, and it became heavier. When it was thrown out, it would be a piece, and the ground of the deserted island would tremble. Before the enemy finds it, he will take a bite. When he catches it, the defensive cover is broken, and the person is also poisoned. Needless to say, the third person under siege was Chen Yufeng. What people didn't expect was that he was still a master of gold, but he didn't have Ningying. Compared with Ho Yingjia and Lu Qingfeng before the poisoning, this cultivation talent was indeed slightly less. Lower. Although there are many pirates, Tianfirong and Fatty have also learned it during their time in Guanghai, and they are ruthless and decisive, so the opponent does not have an advantage. Even if there is no Guyao and his party, these pirates will not be seen. Can get. Therefore, after seeing the situation clearly, Guyao and the others did not take action immediately. The battle is beneficial to cultivation, as long as the opponent is prevented from making black moves. Unexpectedly, the crystal snake looked up while holding a pirate. The pirates who were caught lost their breath, and it didn't let go, looking a little silly. Guyao laughed. It seems that Li Yulai found us, and Li Yulai seems to have changed a little. Let's go down. Guyao released the cub, and the cub landed on the crystal snake's head and stepped on it twice. This idiot was actually stupid in the middle of the battle, and he didn't even know that he was cut in two. Not only was the crystal snake not annoyed, it was quick. Wake up and wiggle his tail into a shadow. Their appearance startled Chen Yufeng, thinking that there was another enemy coming. The opponent seemed to be not weak, but they were being frightened. But Tianfirong and Fatty shouted happily, "You guys are finally here, wait, we'll be there right away. Clean up these bastards." Don't want Guyao and the others to help, it's enough to have the cubs join in and the situation will turn to their side, not to mention that their side is fighting more vigorously, but the pirates of the other side have the intention of retreating when they see the helper, and take the lead in saying, "This is what the Ho family wants." Those who take it, do you dare to follow the Ho family to fight? Tian Firong laughed happily, since you already know that he is our helper, why don't you ask the third son of Ho in whose hands? Don't ask too much about outside news. The head of the pirate's face darkened. Only then did he think of the movement caused by young Master Ho of Yunwang Island being taken as a hostage. At this time, it would be useless to use the Ho family to scare people. The pirate can be considered to be licking blood on the edge of the knife, but he asked himself that he couldn't provoke a cultivating family like the Ho family. The current situation is very obvious. If he stays behind, he will not only destroy the soldiers, but also destroy them, so he quickly waved, "Withdraw. Everyone. Get out." Guyao and the others didn't make a move. Tian Firong and Fatty were also eager to reunite with their friends, and they didn't hold back, so half of the pirates escaped, and half of their lives were still lost. If he takes action, I am afraid that even his life will be confessed there. Tian Firong and Fatty were very excited, thinking that they didn't have many happy birthdays after they landed here. They were chased by a group of monks all day, and they thought about how to get rid of the problem of those guys saving their lives. Now that they have Guyao and the others, then I felt that there was no need to be afraid of those chasing and killing them. With Guyao and the others, they could break through the ends of the earth. The crystal snake also flew over to rub against Guyao, and was slapped by the cub with a paw. After flying back, it was not annoyed, and continued to think of a way to get close to Guyao, seeing the fat man crying and laughing. After meeting the three elders of Yinhua, Fatty brought over Chen Yufeng, who was somewhat restrained by their presence. "By the way, Guyao, brother Qi, let me introduce you to one person. This is the friend we met on the road. My name is Chen Yufeng. Become the grandson of the ancestor." Being called out, Chen Yufeng was more calm and reassured, took a few steps forward and said, "It's Yufeng. It's Yufeng's fault for causing a lot of trouble for brother Tian and brother Fat during this time. When I see my grandfather, Yufeng will make it clear to my grandfather." "Even if we take Ho Yingji as a hostage," Guyao said with a smile. In fact, after hearing Chen Yufeng calling Tian Urge and Fatty like that, he knew that the two of them liked Chen Yufeng, and sincerely regarded him as a friend. Chen Yufeng didn't hesitate and said, "Young Master Ho-san and Yufeng do not have a deep relationship. Yufeng has made it clear to him that he will not be with him, and young Master Ho-san does not really like men, and there is beauty around him. Surrounded by concubines and prostitutes, not to mention that I am inseparable from the situation I am in now and young Master Ho. This is clearly visible." Chi Changjai looked into the air, and said loudly, "Senior Cheng should have heard it. Can you come out?" As I said before, if the Great Spirit transformation deliberately hides, they may not be able to find out, but if he leaked his breath, Guyao and Chi Changjai noticed it. Although they have never met old ancestor Cheng, they contacted he let out his breath because he saw Chen Yufeng being attacked by pirates, so he could judge that he was old ancestor Cheng and not another god turning almighty. There was a sigh in the air. Chen Yufeng looked up in surprise and joy, and at the same time was a little uneasy. In fact, the days of fleeing with Tian Firong and Fatty were the most relaxed and comfortable for him, and others didn't have to look at him. For the grandfather's sake, it was one thing on the surface, but another behind it. What saddened him the most was Ho Yingji's pursuit. At first he didn't agree, but Ho Yingji did a lot for him, and gradually he was moved. He was moved by his appearance and his disguised infatuation. Taking Ho Yingji as his port. I can only say that he is still blind, and because of the so-called Fire Soul Stone, he has been pushed into the limelight again. Wherever he goes, he can hear people saying that if there is not a grandfather of Hua Shen, how could young Master Ho see him like this? Man, until Lu Yueying injured him and almost died of a cold poison outbreak, and was rescued by Tian Firong and Fatty who happened to pass by. Although there were constant dangers along the way, he was moved by their optimistic spirit. Compared with him, he felt self-pity and self-pity. It would be too hypocritical. Brother Tian said that the reason why those people said those words was not because he was jealous that he had a grandfather. He also said that if he had a grandfather, he would definitely walk sideways on Yunwang Island and be a grandfather. The arrogant and domineering second-generation ancestor amused Chen Yufeng. Fighting and killing all the way, Chen Yufeng felt that the bottle diameter that had been staying for a long time was a little loose, and he also realized in his heart why he stayed at the barrier that Jindan Dachan couldn't touch Ningying. It was himself. Trapped yourself. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 353. The airman showed his face, and Chen Yufeng went up to meet him. Grandfather, Yufeng is not filial, so my grandfather is worried about Yufeng. Grandfather, when I was injured and suffered from cold and poison, it was Brother Tian and Brother Fat who passed by and rescued me. I've been with them for a while. I have been hearing all kinds of things about old ancestor Cheng. This is the first time I have seen him. This is a person with a very serious face, so Chen Yufeng, his own grandson, seems a little bit reluctant to let go in front of him. If the ancestor did not take this only grandson in his heart, he would not have followed him all the way. If the god-turning ancestor of the Ho family came out in person, he might also find Gu Yao and his party suspicious, but those nascent soul cultivators could easily be fooled by them. Compared with Ho Yingji's status in old ancestor Ho's heart, it is no wonder that Ho Yingji tried every means to work on Chen Yufeng, but unfortunately it fell short. You. Old ancestor Cheng sighed, I wanted to keep you on the island for a long time, and I wanted to come out and walk away. It doesn't seem to be fruitless. How could the changes in Chen Yufeng be hidden from his eyes? He was happy. After all, there was a big difference between Jin Dan and Yuan Ying, and the difference in lifespan was even greater. He didn't want to watch this child take a step by himself. Grandfather. Chen Yufeng didn't know what to say. She really wanted to take advantage of this time to be arrogant, but she felt sorry for her grandfather and made her worry about him. Old ancestor Cheng turned his gaze to Tianfirong. The latter was seen with a hard scalp and a straight waist. Old ancestor Cheng talked and said, you are the kid who took away the fire soul stone with Qing Yan, you're Qing Yan. The cold poison on Yufeng's body cannot be cured. As he spoke, he looked away, but Tianfirong was sweating coldly in his vest. He was under too much pressure. All of them stared at his Qingjian. Some people even asked his master to hand over Qingjian to save his life. It was a joke. Can you live? Qingjian was one with him, and he was actually worried that old ancestor Cheng had the same idea. Fortunately, the other party's eyes were too high to be seen, which made him relieved. But immediately the heart was mentioned in his throat again. He saw that old ancestor Cheng turned his attention to Gu Yao. Gu Yao also had a strange fire on him. It was much more effective for healing than his. It would not be a fight ancient Haraka's idea, right? Lian Xinhuo, Lei Jiangziu, it seems that you are the ancient alchemist and Qi Changjai of Lingyun section. I didn't expect that thousands of miles would come to my ancient Wanghai. Chenglizu looked at these two juniors, and at this moment, he was facing the two of them. I was a little surprised by the identity of the Ho family. I didn't expect that the children of the Ho family were actually provoked by these two juniors. They were not ordinary opponents. Isn't it? The children of the Ho family were planted in their hands. Originally, he thought Ho Yingja was a good talent, but with the comparison between the two juniors in front of him, he felt that the boy was useless. Can beat that little fat man. Qi Changjai handed over his hands and said, neither humble nor arrogant, if it is not a last resort, we will come to Guwanghai in another way, and see the seniors. Sorry. Tianfirong and Fatty looked at each other. What can they do? They will call old ancestor Cheng over, and the root is still on them. This is troublesome. Old ancestor Cheng really wants to do something, and they have to protect Gu Yao no matter what. Run away, the big deal is that this little life is gone, and after 20 years, he will be a hero again. Although the identities of these two people are terrifying, Gu Wanghai and the sect forces on the mainland have always been well watered. He also provokes the Ho family on Yunwang Island this time, but he is just a loose cultivator of Gu Wanghai. Only when it involves the life and death of Gu Wanghai, he will take a responsibility. In fact, he doesn't care much. Moreover, the appearance of Gu Yao made him want to try his alchemy technique to see if he could help his grandson. Although he was jealous of the lotus fire on Gu Yao's body, it was not something he would like to see if he provokes Ling Yunzong for this situation. Even if the cold poison could not be solved, it would be beneficial for the grandson to stay with this ancient alchemist. Lotus heart fire could help ease the pain of the cold poison attack. These thoughts flashed in old ancestor Cheng's mind, and he said, "Actually, you have turned the ancient Wanghai upside down, and the old man won't care too much, but whether the other spiritual monks think the same way, the old man does not know. The old man has something to ask the ancient alchemist. Someone has paid me to come and see, but there is no guarantee that the junior will be completely cured." Who? It can't be the child of the Ho family, right? Old ancestor Cheng doubted. Chen Yufeng also widened his eyes. Who could it be? Is it brother Qing Feng? Old ancestor Cheng also thought of the Lu family child who shared the same illness as his grandson. If it was him, he would be more attentive than the child in the Ho family. Seeing Gu Yao nodded and affirmed Chen Yufeng's guess, old ancestor Cheng stroked his beard and said, "It seems that you were able to avoid the Ho family's search during this time, thanks to the help of the Lu family's boy." Gu Yao said, "Yes, young master Qing Feng provides us with shelter, and I also promised young master Qing Feng to take a look at the cold poison on his body as young master Cheng." Chen Yufeng had a complicated look on his face. Brother Qing Feng always thought about him, but he didn't let him know what he did. Compared with the cold poison on his body, the strange poison on brother Qing Feng was actually more deadly. The poison can survive after a long time. The poison on brother Qing Feng can be fatal when it erupts. Now it can only be suppressed all the time. I can't imagine the consequences of the outbreak one day. Old ancestor Cheng didn't let his grandson speak. Since it was the opportunity given by the Lu family's boy, he wouldn't push it out. The only thing he worried about was whether Gu Yao had the real ability. You must know that he has also found a 5th-grade alchemist. I have seen it, but I can't get rid of the cold poison. Compared with those 5th-grade alchemists, Gu Yao's only advantage is that the lotus heart on his body is on fire, so he can only give Gu Yao a try. Old ancestor Cheng said, "Find a place to sit." Okay. The group left this deserted island, the aircraft flew out, and went to the nearest rich island for Fatty and the others to adjust. Gu Yao and the others thought old ancestor Chen would hide behind him, but unexpectedly, he followed up in the aircraft carelessly, but no one bothered him and stayed alone. Tian Firong and Fatty were actually under a lot of pressure. It was the first time they had contact with God transformation power, but they didn't have time to experience the pressure, because Gu Yao drove them into the room to adjust their breath and recover. The previous battle made the two of them. The spiritual power consumption is not small. As for Chen Yufeng, he naturally followed his grandfather. "Who injured you?" Old ancestor Chen looked at his grandson and asked. If no one was injured, the cold poison would not have attacked at this time. Is it that boy from the Ho family? Chen Yufeng smiled bitterly and said, "It's not him, but it's also related to him. It's Lu Yueying from the Lu family. She thinks it's me who stopped her from being with Ying." Young Master Ho He also said a lot of unpleasant remarks. Evidence that she was with Ho Yingja long ago. There is no need to tell my grandfather, it was Yu Feng who disappointed his grandfather. In the future, Yu Feng will practice hard and stay by his side. Old ancestor Chen looked at his grandson carefully, if you really like that child of the Ho family, grandfather can fulfill you. He has a way to completely tie Ho Yingja to his grandson. He is just such a grandson. Could it be that he can't even fulfill his grandson's thoughts? He thought that even old ancestor Ho wouldn't think it was too much. Chen Yufeng blinked, guessing what his grandfather meant, and quickly explained, "No, I don't really like young Master Ho, especially now that I know that he is different from the outside, and only came to pursue it because of my grandfather. I don't like him even more." Chen Yufeng was afraid that his grandfather would be too quick and would tie him to Ho Yingja, and he did not want his grandfather to offend the old ancestor of the Ho family because of him. His grandfather was a loose cultivator in Guanghaili, and the other gods were both good to his grandfather. They were drawn to them and fearing that their grandfather would fall to their hostile forces, so all these years, grandfather and those gods have maintained a light acquaintance, and none of them have come very close. If old ancestor Ho was offended and he united with other gods to deal with his grandfather, he didn't know what the outcome would be. Old ancestor Cheng hates that iron is not steel. His grandson is too soft-hearted. He worries about this and that all day long. When his grandfather is a god, is he putting on beautiful decorations? Seeing his grandson's character, he sometimes wished that he would be as reckless as other playboys, and to reflect on whether he had been too strict with him before. Maybe it's because he's used to being serious in front of his grandson, so that the child is afraid of himself, but he just wants him to be softer, but he can't do it. Fortunately, it's not nothing to be wandering outside during this period of time. He'll take a look. Okay, adjust your breath first, and let Master Gu Alchemy help you after you recover your spiritual power. Yes, grandfather, Chen Yufeng thought for a while, and then said boldly, Gu Alchemist is only a 6th grade alchemist, and if he can't do it, it is excusable after all. There is no way for a 5th grade alchemist. When it comes to other people, this child is emboldened and knows how to intercede for others. Cheng Baozu stared at him. Why don't you go quickly? Being a grandfather doesn't count. Chen Yufeng shrank his neck and hurriedly slipped away while adjusting his breath. Old ancestor Cheng sighed, thinking he didn't know the truth. It's just that according to the news from the mainland, this ancient alchemist's alchemy technique is very good, and he has a lotus heart, so it shouldn't be without merit. 2 days later, they arrived on an island, and took Tian Firong and Fatty to the best restaurant on the island for a big meal. They also knew, except when they first arrived, where would they have the time to eat, drink and have fun? I only care about escaping for my life. Sorry to see you. Yin Hua looked at these two boys playfully with such eyes, and saw their scalps go numb. He forgot that when he first arrived in Wanluo continent, he was chased after his ass, and he also got a reward from Ling Yunzang. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 354. They ate happily on this island, and seemed to forget the wind and rain outside. On the other side, the pirates who escaped turned around and betrayed Tian Firong's news. The Ho family's face was sober when they got the information. It's dark enough. Yunwang Island can be said to have a net of heaven and earth, but they still let those guys run away from their noses and pick up people. Needless to say, other forces on the island must have intervened to help, but it is difficult to find out which force it is. This part of the clan who supports Ho Yingja is the most anxious. These people have all run away, but they haven't released anyone yet. Can't they keep their promises? Old ancestor, this matter must not be covered up. Those cultivators slapped our Ho family's face brightly, and they haven't sent the third son back yet, so should they be allowed to be arrogant? That's right, old ancestor, they are the first to be unkind. No wonder we are unjust. Besides, the Ho family only said that they would not deal with those 2 monks, but they didn't say that they could not deal with these 5 generals. The Ho family stepped on the ground. Guy. Old ancestor Ho lowered his eyes and said, Then let's try it out according to what you said. Yes, thank you old ancestor. The clan was overjoyed, turned around and sent the clan's master out of Yunwang Island. The other forces on the island are watching this action, including Yung Island, which is on the same level as Yunwang Island. Yung Island is different from Yunwang Island. The cultivation family does not play a major role, but is headed by 3 gates, 2 halls, and 1 pavilion. For the troubles of the Ho family, the forces on Yung Island are actually watching. Les's mentality is somewhat disdainful of their way of doing things. At the same time, they were also very curious about the 5 cultivators who dared to take Ho Yingji as a hostage. Who would dare to take action on the Ho family's head, and only after they figured out their identities would they decide their attitude towards them. Gu Yao received a message from Lu Qingfeng and said with a smile, "Come on, the Ho family is coming. After eating and resting enough, it's time to exercise." When they didn't destroy the pirate group, they knew that there would be this result. To a certain extent, this situation was also what they wanted, that is, they had to tear up with the Ho family directly, so they did not hide their whereabouts, but came swaggeringly. The island is full of food and drink. Otherwise, they can get away with it completely. With their strength, they can break through the cloud vortex of the Sea of Clouds and run back to the Lingyunzong realm, and the Ho family is beyond their reach. But if they left like this, it would seem to have given up without fighting, and it is estimated that the reputation of Lingyunzong would not be so good looking, unless their identities here were not exposed in their entire lives. They didn't want to provoke the entire Gyuwanghai forces, they just settled their personal grievances with the Ho family. Gu Yao privately hoped that the ancestor of the Ho family would come forward to fight against Qi Changjai, and let Qi Changjai try the strength of a god-turning cultivator. To be honest, he would meet a young master and become an ancestor and chase after him. This is entirely up to them. It was out of the plan, but it was an excellent result, allowing Qi Changjai to fight old ancestor Ho without any distractions, without worrying about their danger. Of course, this is under the circumstance that old ancestor Ho will come forward. If old ancestor Ho does not come forward and want to calm down, then they can only go home after fighting this battle. When the inn they were in was surrounded by layers of people, a group of people were chatting in the yard, the atmosphere was very relaxed and happy, and the layers of coercion from outside did not make them show any strangeness. Old ancestor Chang, who was flipping through a book in the room alone, only slightly lifted his eyelids, then continued to turn to the next page, immersed in the world of this book, and the world was turned upside down, and he would not have the slightest impression on him. Influence. Gu Yao had already checked Yufeng's physical condition and asked Chen Yufeng in detail about the accident. The cold poison had penetrated into Chen Yufeng's bones and blood and was completely integrated with his body, so if he wanted to remove it, it would be no different. It is not so difficult to pull out a bone due to cramps. But if you want to help Chen Yufeng relieve the pain of the cold poison attack, Gu Yao can easily do it, so it is better for Chen Yufeng to stay by Gu Yao and them during this time, and Gu Yao will use him as an experimental subject. Chen Yufeng's mood is also much more relaxed. Whether it's Tian Firong's fat brother or Gu Yao, he has no pressure to interact with him. Although there is also a reason for his grandfather, it is different from the friends his grandfather found for him in the past. Block Token said loudly, "The Ho family of Yunwang Island is doing business here, and the idle people are waiting to retreat." The Ho family of Yunwang Island. After a few swipes, those people quickly evacuated. This place is not too far from Yunwang Island, so the news is not too late, so this time the Ho family has to deal with the guy who took away the Fire Soul Stone, or later to arrest Ho-san. The sun is a monk of the human body. Although they have withdrawn, they still stay on the island. They also want to see who is so daring, who dares to slap lice on the Ho family's head, and those who hear the news rushed over to watch the fun, and are ready to release the first-hand news. The leader of the team was satisfied with the other monks' actions, but when they saw the guys in the yard, they were still laughing and angry. Home consequences. Do it. Let Lao Tzu level this inn. Yes. The owner of the inn wanted to cry but had no tears. A good inn was destroyed when he said it was destroyed. He didn't dare to ask the Ho family for compensation, so he could only watch the monks who surrounded the inn go out to bombard the inn together. Not only could he not ask for compensation, I also worried that the Ho family would not turn their anger on him. Boom, there was a roar, and the location of the inn flickered and the dust and smoke flew into the sky. When the people above waved their sleeves to blow the dust and smoke away, the monks onlookers almost looked straight, because more than half of the inn was destroyed, but there was one, the corner was safe and sound. Needless to say, the person the Ho family was looking for was staying inside. Noisy. Cub, you bring Liulai Moyo to deal with those annoying guys outside. A shallow voice came out, followed by a few meows, and a black cat jumped out from that corner, followed by a crystal snake and a dark green alien plant. This scene suddenly made many of the monks' onlookers burst into laughter, but they had to try their best to hold back, so as not to let the people of the Ho family think about it. On the one hand, there are the cultivators of the Ho family who are waiting for the aggressiveness, and on the other hand, there are three non-human beings, who don't seem to have any sense of threat. The contrast is too strong. The Ho family became even more angry when they saw this, and the leader waved his hand and said, "Kill these beasts." But when Sang Xiao first came out, he looked a little softer, but in a blink of an eye, he was shocked. The black cat in the lead had exploded in size and turned into a ferocious beast, stepping on black flames. It was all burnt up, and the dark green unknown alien plant also swelled up suddenly, and instantly pulled out dozens of vine-like objects, which were wrapped around the monks who surrounded the inn. When the figure was exposed, the monks' onlookers immediately recognized what this alien plant was. Some monks living in the ancient Wanghai area did not know the seaweed plant, but the one in front of them was clearly a mutant. In the blink of an eye, a cultivator flew away and tied two cultivators. Sure enough, he was the one who the third son. As soon as the people of the Ho family saw the dark green guy, they thought of the situation explained by the guards. They didn't see the person, but they saw the dark green snake-like rattan tying the person away, but it wasn't the thing in front of them. Including the ferocious giant beast that the black cat turned into, they also recognized it. Good guy, the black cat is too ordinary, but this black nightmare beast is not easy to mess with, especially the black flames on his feet, which are even souls. Can be burned. When the black nightmare appeared, old ancestor Cheng, who was immersed in the world of words, also looked up in surprise. This also made him take Guyao and the others a little more seriously, no longer just because of Guyao's alchemy. Think about a cultivator who gathers Qingyan, Lotus Heart Fire, Black Nightmare Beast and Heiminjian, and you can know how powerful the luck is. Down. The most inconspicuous thing in Sanxiali is the crystal snake, but this is precisely its advantage. When the sea belt is tying up those monks, it rushes to catch it and takes a sip. I thought it would be very easy to solve these three problems, but it didn't take long for the cultivator who led the team to find that there were only a few cultivators still in the air, and the others were either dizzy or unable to lift the spiritual power in their bodies. The body fell uncontrollably. The cultivator who led the team was shocked, but at this time a dark shadow shrouded him. He looked up and saw that the ferocious beast was walking towards him step by step with black flames on its feet. When it approached him, he felt the soul is trembling. Beast, the cultivator who led the team was furious, and slashed at the giant beast with his flying sword. And then fell heavily on the ground. The giant beast in the sky looked down at him contemptuously, and then spit out a human voice, "Go back and report, and send someone who can call him." Then he turned around and went back arrogantly, shrinking one step at a time, from the ferocious beast back to a fluffy black cat, flapping its tail, jumped into Guyao's arms below, meowing to show off its credit. The leader of the cultivator spit out a mouthful of blood with a poof. He came in a rage and retreated in embarrassment. None of the onlookers expected such an ending, and the main lord did not appear, so the defeat was too miserable. Young Master Ho thought he was picking up a piece of cartilage, but he didn't expect this bone to be so hard to chew. When these people go back, it is conceivable what kind of storm they will face in the Ho family. At the same time, the live video of this battle also spread quickly, so the main lord didn't even show a face. What are these guys? I know who they are. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 355. When the second wave of the Ho family sent over, a middle-aged cultivator stood in front of the Ho family master, with a hint of arrogance in his expression. The Ho family master, who knew the identity of this person, had to treat him as a distinguished guest, because this one is Wang Sun, the son of the elder Lingyunzong Huashan. After Wang Sun came to Gu Wanghai, he was worried that there was no way to find the whereabouts of Gu Yao and Qi Changjai. The two jumped out by themselves. How could he not know that the black cat and the sea were the pets and plants beside Gu Yao? Chong, knowing that Gu Yao had captured young Master Ho San, Wang Sun secretly shouted in his heart that it was a good capture. This great opportunity was presented to him, it would be strange for him not to take advantage of it. He was worried that he could not find a helper to help him deal with these two bastards. They were very capable, and they would provoke a major force in the local area, so he immediately came to Yunwang Island to send his father's token, not afraid that others would not recognize him. The gods of Wanluo continent all understand each other. The family master Ho is worried about this matter. He belongs to the neutral side, and Ho Yingjie does not belong to his branch. Ho Yingjie's popularity has dimmed his main branch a lot. If the scenery continues, it may not be long before this branch of his. The position of the head of the house has to be handed over to Ho Yingjie, but he has to take action, otherwise the face of the Ho family will really let outsiders step on the ground, and the head of his house will be dull. Who is it? Patriarch Ho's eyes flashed. Could it be Wang Sun's enemy? Otherwise, how could they have traveled thousands of miles to catch up to Gu Wanghai? Speaking of which, I am not afraid of the jokes of the Ho family. They are the people of Lingyun section. They have just entered the sect, but they don't know how high the sky is. After tossing the sect, it is not enough to toss the ancient Wanghai. The Ho family, I am here on behalf of my father. My child is my father's favorite grandson, but in the end it was found out that they died at their hands, and they have an inseparable feud with my Wang family. Wang Sunyan gritted his teeth, hiding the hatred on his face. Nothing. Patriarch Ho was shocked when he heard this. Someone from Lingyun sect? He had a not so good thought. I don't know which two they are. It's Qi Changjai, who has forgotten his ancestors, and Gu Yao, a country bumpkin from another place. Wang Sun's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Patriarch Ho almost fell down and sat down. It really answered his bad premonition. It was actually an alchemist, Gu Yao. You must know that this alchemist is often mentioned in their clan recently, and they want to send someone to the mainland to find out more details. The news, is it really as rumored to be able to refine the high-grade 6th grade pills? That is to say, the two foreign monks who came to participate in the formation competition came from the same place as alchemist Gu Yao, and they were very close friends. Otherwise, they would not have rushed to Yunwang Island because of these two people. He does not hesitate to provoke the Ho family and take Ho Yingjie as a hostage. Patriarch Ho gasped in his heart. He should have known such a relationship earlier. What kind of fire soul stone? Is it worth it to befriend such a powerful alchemist? There is no comparison between the two at all. Fire soul stone is just a one-time spiritual material, but a good alchemist can continuously provide medicinal herbs. Now it has gotten to the point where it is difficult to ride a tiger. If the news spreads, I don't know how many forces will see the Ho family's joke. It's just that these thoughts in his heart didn't show on his face. He just expressed surprise and indignation. While keeping people, he went to see the ancestors, and told the ancestors about the matter. It was up to the ancestors to take it? Just an idea. Because there was a genius alchemist in Lingyunzang, the Ho family also paid more attention to the recent developments of Lingyunzang, but they didn't pay much attention to matters related to the Wang family, because outsiders did not know about the Wang family and Guyadan. The hatred between teachers had to be investigated by someone else. He could see that Wang Sun wanted to use the hands of their Ho family to avenge his son. Really good calculus. If these two people are so unpopular in Lingyun sect and act too arrogantly, do they need to come here to find ways to deal with them? Obviously, it is more convenient for Elder Wang to do it himself, but Elder Wang did not do it. What does that mean? Does Wang Sun really represent his father's meaning? Or did Elder Wang just open one eye and close one eye? Old Ancestor Ho frowned. You said that the two disciples of Lingyun sect came to Yunwang Island to make trouble. One of them was the sword cultivator who opened the sword pavilion and obtained the inheritance of the sword pavilion. It's not that these god-turning monks haven't paid attention to the movement of the opposite side of the sword pavilion, but the sword pavilion appeared on the side of the mainland. After all, the final winners were the nameless sword cultivator who had obtained the inheritance of Senior Crazy Sword Demon, and the genius disciple of Lingyun sect who had been missing for many years, and the nameless sword cultivator had a good relationship with that genius disciple. It's him, his name is Chi Changjai. It is said that he fell into the space crack in the secret realm of Qingyang decades ago and his whereabouts are unknown. When he came back, he entered the sword pavilion for no reason and fought against the predecessors of the crazy sword demon. He won. Alchemist Guyao is his Taoist companion, and the two foreign cultivators who appeared on our territory now seem to have come to Wanluo continent with them, the family head Ho said truthfully. He felt that this was a bit tricky. Ho Yingjia should be damned, he actually brought such an enemy to the Ho family and also brought Wang Sun over. Old Ancestor Ho pondered for a while and said, try it again, but be careful not to hurt them. This old man will keep an eye on it. It's really not good. The old man will go personally. As for the child surnamed Wang, don't care anymore. Elder Wang's token won't help much unless it is explained by Elder Wang himself, but be careful not to put him in danger. He can guess how much Elder Wang's attitude towards this matter, and it is probably the best to get rid of it, but his son came forward. This fire can't burn him, and the revenge is a personal vengeance. After all, where is the strength, unless the two of Chi Changjai's strength and status in Lingyunzang can surpass this god-turning elder? Is it possible? Old Ancestor Ho chuckled softly. How easy it is to achieve god transformation. That kid can be promoted to god transformation within a few hundred years, and he is considered a loser. Then I can rest assured. If the ancestors come forward, there will definitely be no trouble. Patriarch Ho is eager for the ancestors to personally come forward to solve the current dilemma. According to him, it is best for Elder Wang not to offend, but that an alchemist from Guyao would also want to win over. Guyao and his party did not know that Wang Sun followed them to Gu Wanghai, and even entered the door of Ho's house. After they compensated for the loss of the inn, they moved out of the inn and settled in an unoccupied place. This is the first wave of enemies. It is not so easy to die, so in order to avoid losses, it is better for them to stay away from the center of the crowd. What they can think of, other monks can also think of. They even made a bet in private, betting that this group of people can insist on the arrest of several groups of people from the Ho family. Under their expectations, the second group of people arrived soon. On the island, the sea kelp was playing in the sea at this time, and the sea kelp covered the sea area. From the air, the sea water was dyed dark green, and sometimes huge waves slapped the coast. Guyao received a voice transmission from Mou and knew, there is another person. Everyone, don't take it lightly. This group of people is naturally much stronger than the previous batch. The strength of the leader last time was higher. It was in the middle stage of nascent soul, and the others were also in the early stage of nascent soul and Jindan. They are not weak teams, but it is a pity can't even beat 3. This time, the Ho family learned their lesson and sent a team with all the strength of nascent soul. The leader of the team was changed to the late nascent soul. This time, it was still San Xiao's main attack, but with the addition of the celestial spider, Gu Yao, and the others watched from below. If San Xiao Li was not enough, he would take over immediately. This battle was much harder than that of the inn before. The sea belt was cut off many branches, and the crystal snake was also injured. The cub faced the most powerful late nascent soul cultivator. It was as easy as before, and the enemy was shot and flew out with one claws, but fortunately there was no injury. The situation of the sea belt and the crystal snake made the sky spider angry, and the sea belt was also angry. After a while, the chopped branches grew again, and the fog was also transpiring, so everyone from the Ho family fell into the fog. The celestial spider rushed into the mist, and after a while, it spit out spider silk, tied it into a cocoon, and threw it to the crystal snake. When the fog dissipated, the monks on the island found that although the strength of the Ho family members had greatly increased this time, the result was even more miserable than the last time, and they ran away again in despair. What's the origin and strength of that big spider? It didn't appear last time, does it mean that its strength is stronger? What's the matter with the fog? Divine consciousness penetrated, and the fog seems to be able to swallow the spiritual consciousness. It's too weird. Last time, the sea zone didn't show its full strength. Tisk tisk, a mutant kelp is so amazing, should we look for it next time? The more Gu Yao and the others do not act, the more mysterious and unpredictable they appear. Just being a beast pet and planting a pet is so amazing, the owner is also. Some people even tried their best to verify the origins of these monks. With these pets and plant pets, they should be able to dig out their identities. Their strengths are so great that they cannot be unknown. The island that was originally considered to be generally wealthy suddenly ushered in a high flow of people and tides. Many monks rushed to this island and waited for the third time the Ho family came. The third time, the monks hidden behind should be ready to fight. Gu Yao took out the messenger, and another message came from Lu Qingfeng. After reading it, he laughed, someone followed us out of Lingyuan sect, and revenge is coming. Who? The surname is Wang. Zhou Hula was in a good mood. He didn't need a shot at his level in the previous battle. It was a bit too bullying. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 356. Gu Yao nodded and said, yes, young Master Qingfeng has been paying attention to the movements of the Ho family, and found that a guest with a high status has come to the Ho family in the past few days, and his identity was revealed by himself. Gu Yao told others about the exposure process. This Wang Sun has always been accustomed to holding the title of God Huafa Father, otherwise he would not let out a son like Wang Yuzhu, so he did not restrain himself when he came to Guanghai and Yunwang Island. How many, when accompanied by the Ho family in and out of the entertainment venues in the city, under the provocation of a caring person, he took the initiative to lift his old bottom in a few words. This caring person was arranged by Lu Qingfeng, and immediately sent a message to Gu Yao, which was clearly aimed at Gu Yao and Qi Changjai, so they should be careful. Zhou Hu sneered and said, Elder Wang can really rest assured. Putting such a son in Guanghai, the environment here is more complicated than that of the Devil's Realm, and it is possible for him to be swallowed by a sea beast by accident. Qi Changjai sneered, he wants to use a knife to kill people, but the knife is not necessarily a knife, and he alone cannot represent Lingyuan section even in the Ho family. Ho Yingja is not the most important thing. If a Ho Yingja falls, there will be several Ho Yingja. Xiangjia, only such a self-cultivation family can continue. Soon, they ushered in the third group of Ho family members. This time, the Ho family members were more cautious than the previous two. They were not aggressively surrounding them as soon as they came up, and they used the momentum of the Ho family to press people. Words are inconvenient to start. This time, the leader of the team has taken another level of cultivation. He is a monk named Nascent Soul Dachan. He stood in the air and looked down at the monks below. The embarrassing return of the first two groups of Ho family made the Ho family lose a lot. If the Ho family stopped at this time, it would only become a bigger joke, thinking that they were afraid of a few foreign monks, so this third trip had to go. It can also be said that the Ho family is indeed a bit difficult to ride a tiger. From initially dealing with two monks in the early stages of Nascent Soul, to now sending the monks who have completed the Nascent Soul to fight, no one expected the development trend at the beginning of the incident, after knowing that there was a sword repairer named Dachan Yuanying in the opponent's team. Ho Mo, the leader of the team this time, held the attitude of giving courtesy before soldiers. Ho Mo became calm when he thought of the raiders behind him. Their main purpose was to resolve this grievance, take back the hostage Ho Yingja smoothly, and invite the ancient alchemist to be a guest in the Ho family. As long as the ancient alchemist entered the Ho family, then all the rumors that are unfavorable to the Ho family can be solved. Ho Ma Chong clasped his fists below and said, "The Peak Master Qi and Master Gu alchemist from the unknown Lingyuan sect have come to visit me in Guanghai. Those who don't know are not guilty. I hope the two of you will forgive me for the offending of the Ho family." Ho Mo's voice spread all over the island at once, and there was a buzzing among the countless monks watching. It turned out that these foreign monks were not unknown people, but disciples of Lingyuan sect. Where is Lingyuanzong sacred? Anyone with a little knowledge would not be unaware that the two monks had the shadow of Lingyuanzong behind them. If they had said earlier, how dare Ho Yingja be so unscrupulous? It's just Peak Lord Qi and Alchemist Gu. Are these two famous? Many cultivators who didn't pay attention to the situation on the other side whispered to each other, what kind of characters were these two people, so that the clan elder of the Ho family had such a low attitude? It is said that when the disciples of these sects came to the Guanghai territory, they should first say hello to the local forces in Guanghai. I know who they are," someone shouted excitedly, attracting a lot of attention. The sword pavilion left by Senior Crazy Sword Demon opened a while ago, and this Peak Lord Qi came out of the sword pavilion at that time. There was also a swordsman descendant from a senior. The two had a competition a month later, and Qi Fengju won. Some people said that he was the first cultivator under God transformation. In fact, the crazy sword demon also traveled all over Guanghai at the beginning, but after 10,000 years, unless there is a deep-rooted family sect force, and the environment is more dangerous in Guanghai, most monks no longer know their names. The title of the first monk under the gods aroused everyone's emotions even more. There are also many famous monks in Guanghai who agreed with this title. In their opinion, the monks in Guanghai are more powerful than the monks on the mainland. Their combat power is learned by fighting against the sinister environment and dangerous sea beasts. Those sects on the mainland came out disciple. In comparison, it's more like being cultivated in a greenhouse, and it can't stand up to many storms. However, there were also many monks whose expressions changed. Most of these were other forces attracted by the Ho family, such as Yun Guhe. Qi Changjai and Gu Yao also got the news that they had left the section. If there was a chance, who wouldn't want to contact Gu Yao, a genius alchemist? Unexpectedly, these two people appeared in Guanghai. What was the Ho family's idea of revealing their identities at this moment? These monks had doubts in their hearts, and immediately reported the situation to their respective high-level officials. For a time, many messages were sent from this island. If these invisible messages could be revealed, it would definitely be a lively scene. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai also had doubts. When they didn't plan to cover up, they knew that their identity would be revealed sooner or later. In addition, Wang Sun had gone to the Ho family, and their identity was revealed one step earlier than planned, but they didn't expect the Ho family to be exposed. It came out directly. What was the Ho family's idea? The two of them couldn't help but respond positively. While flying into the sky, they also asked old ancestor Chang, who still had a very low sense of existence, through voice transmission, "Senior, is old ancestor Ho here?" The two feel that there is only one reason, and that is that the other party feels that everything is under their control, and in the end, the two of them must compromise. Old ancestor Cheng replied with a chuckle, "These two juniors are not stupid, they can see through the essence at a glance. He will not intervene, just see which side the situation will turn this time. He actually wants to know, can Chi Change be able to bear the burden? He deserves the title of the first person under the transformation of God, because he also feels that the monks in Gyuwanghai are no worse than those on the other side of the continent." Although old ancestor Cheng didn't answer, the chuckle was enough to explain everything. The two looked at each other with a smile in their eyes, which was just right. The two removed their disguise, revealing their true appearances. One was imposing and the other was as gentle as jade. It was very eye-catching to stand side by side. Neither one lost to young Master Ho. "It's the two of me, but this time I came to Gyuwanghai because of some personal affairs. It has nothing to do with the section. I didn't want to disturb the parties. After coming here, I learned that our friend had offended young Master Ho. I have to ask young Master Ho to give in for a while and give us a guide in Gyuwanghai." Guyao said it more euphemistically, not only pointing out the reason why he didn't say hello to the local forces first, but also taking young Master Ho as a hostage and changing the situation. "I asked him to be my guide." After saying this, someone in the group of cultivators made a sound. "Isn't it a guide? With the third son of Ho, there are many forces that give way to them, because they are afraid that the third son of Ho is in their hands." Ho Mo knew that this person was just talking nonsense, but he couldn't refute it, so he had to say, "I wonder if Yingzhe is here now." Guyao smiled and said, "I have offended you a lot before, which made young Master Ho tired, so I will send young Master Ho out." Guyao waved his hand to transfer Ho Yingzhe out of the cave. Although he opened his eyes and said nonsense, Guyao didn't do much to cover it up, so the condition of Ho Yingzhe, who was released at the moment, was really bad, and the ghost fog in his body was not lifted. The whole person is very depressed. He was very embarrassed to be locked in the closed space of the cave mansion before, but suddenly he saw the light again. When he saw Ho Mo standing in front of him, he had to ask Ho Mo and the other Ho family members to punish the who dared to treat him like this. The only thing that shocked him was that he couldn't open his mouth. Who was it that prevented him from speaking? Ho Yingzhe rolled his eyes and desperately used his eyes to signal to the Ho family members. Why didn't he quickly solve his predicament? When Ho Mo saw Ho Yingzhe's appearance, he knew that he had suffered a lot, but the other party made it clear that he was here to seek revenge for his friends, and it was good not to kill Ho Yingzhe. Leaving room for. As for the face of the Ho family, it depends on whether the Ho family has the ability to get it back, but Ho Yingzhe lost a lot of face this time, but there is no way to get it back. At this time, no matter what, Ho Yingzhe could not be allowed to say anything, and what he said would never be beneficial to the Ho family. Ho Mo waved his hand and said, "Bring Yingzhe back," and then said to the two Guyao without a smile, "This time, Lao and Tu have entertained Yingzhe. I heard that Daiochi is very skilled in swordsmanship and has the ability to transform spirits. The title of the first person under Xia Ho Mo, I don't know if I can. I invite 2 disciples of Lingyun sect to visit my Ho's house, so that you can experience the swordsmanship of fellow Daoist Qi." Ho Mo originally meant to directly compete with Qi Changjai. Although Jiangziu is indeed stronger than ordinary monks, that is for ordinary monks. However, the monks of Gyuwanghai are not ordinary. Being able to leapfrog the level to challenge the monks on the mainland, he is not much less confident than Qi Changjai, but at a critical moment, he received a voice transmission from the ancestor and temporarily changed his mouth. In order to suppress the unhappiness in his heart, he changed his mind and asked this monk to be a guest on the Ho family site. Really? Old Ancestor Ho was hiding behind these monks. At the moment old Ancestor Ho's breath leaked out, both Chi Changjai and Guyao were keenly aware of it, and Homo's change of mouth also made them see, because this person's previous the expression was obviously eager to try, and with conceit, the moment of change, the fighting intent was forced back. This. Guyao pretended to be hesitant, obviously not wanting to get on this boat and wanting to refuse. As they thought, the next moment, the coercion belonging to the power of the gods swept their whole bodies. This was to force them to agree, and a voice was sent into their sea of consciousness. The old man saw that the two little friends still agreed. Well, let the Ho family do their best as a landlord. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 357. Oh, it's a pity, I just went to Yunwang Island, and I don't want to set foot on that island again in a short time. I have let down the love of my predecessors. Chi Changjai sent his reply back with his divine sense, and at the same time, the purple thunder sword in his danchan jumped into the air with a stirrup. The monks in the back didn't understand why Chi Changjai used his sword so well. Could it be that Chi Changjai was going to take the initiative to fight this time? But at this time, people with enough eyesight will find that the sword is stagnant in mid-air, unable to move, and the invisible momentum contest has already started in mid-air. The coercion belonging to the level of the gods is overwhelming, and people with weaker cultivation can be crushed on the spot and bleed. However, at the next moment, the sword in the air trembled, and every tremor brought out a ripple of spiritual energy and space. With each tremor, the ripples continued to expand, extend outward, and also change. It was urgent. At this time, even those with poor eyesight could see the changes in the air. This was because the two sides had already started a contest. What level of competition is this? Does it belong to the nascent soul Dachan level? No. It's not like Yuan Ying Dachan level. As soon as someone was halfway through speaking, they saw that when the ripples expanded to a certain extent, a violent explosion suddenly occurred at the front end, the aura vibrated, and the air blades were finely shattered but extremely sharp, as if the space was about to be crushed by the auras of both sides at that moment. General. It was at this moment that Guyao, who was freed from the pressure of the divine power, quickly retreated back, leaving the battlefield to Chi Changjai. However, Ho Mo knew that the ancestor had already made a deal with Chi Changjai, so Guyao could not retreat at this time, and hurried towards him, and said, "It's better for Master Gu to answer the invitation of our Ho family and go to Yunwang with this elder. Let's go to the island." This is also a treat for him, which is the same as what Guyao said before. As long as people go to the Ho family's site, what they say is the Ho family's business. But there is not only one nascent soul Dachan cultivator in Chi Changjai on the island. Ho Mo was blocked by a figure as soon as his eyes bloomed. He was stunned to find that the other party was also a nascent soul Dachan cultivator. Seeing him smiling evilly, his shoulders lay on his back. Only a shrunken sky spider. Homo's pupils shrank, so he is the owner of the spider. If this person and his pet go together, Ho Mo doesn't know who can win a little bit, and whether there are any cultivators of Yuan Ying Dachan among the other party. Ho Yingja, this bastard, let's see what kind of enemies he has provoked to the Ho family. If the ancestors hadn't come forward, how would this situation end? However, with the old ancestor there, he didn't worry too much, and he was not in a hurry to win or lose, so a smile appeared on his face. "It seems that we will invite Alchemist Gu to visit Ho's house another day, so please disturb me." After finishing speaking, he quickly returned to the Ho family camp, and Zhou Hu also took Guyao back to the island smoothly, staying near Chenglezu, who made him also a powerful god, who is cheap and does not stick to it. Ho Mo entered and retreated, so the question is, who is facing Chi Changjai now? Previously, the cultivator's onlookers thought it belonged to Ho-Mo, but now it is clear that there are other masters. The answer will come soon. Chi-Chang-Ai grabbed the hilt of the purple thunder sword with one hand, and gently swung the sword forward. The space in front seemed to have peeled off a layer of transparent shell, revealing what was hidden. "Come out," at the same time, Chi-Chang-Ai's voice also sounded. "Since the senior is here, the junior is taking care of him, so let's ask the senior for some tips today." Who else could the cultivator hide behind, not to mention that Chi-Chang-Ai was called by a senior? Needless to say that this person was the ancestor of the Ho family, when the black-haired and beard figure was revealed, and Chi-Chang-Ai himself was released. If so, the crowd of onlookers suddenly exploded. Is it because old ancestor Ho used his power to bully the younger generation, or did Chi-Chang-Ai try to challenge the power of God transformation in vain? For a while, everything was said, but more people stared at it, not wanting to miss any of the pictures. The nascent soul Dachan cultivator challenged the divine transformation power. This is not something you can see just by looking at it. Their identities have changed, because old ancestor Ho is here. In the eyes of the Ho family, old ancestor Ho is there, and the two have to follow old ancestor Ho to visit Ho family. It is too late for other forces to intervene, even if they want to. If Guyao is asked to make alchemy, it must be approved by the Ho family. They were immediately angry, and the Ho family was too treacherous. Although they felt that it was too much for Chi-Chang-Ai to challenge the power of God transformation, at this moment, they hoped that Chi-Chang-Ai would really have the ability to hold back old ancestor Ho and wait for other forces to intervene in this dispute. However, they found that their information could not be transmitted, which is still useful. It must be that the old ancestor Ho blocked this space, and his teeth were even more gnashing. Will the Ho family block their way? Old ancestor Cheng still didn't leak his breath, didn't intervene. Didn't he see Chi-Chang-Ai's high fighting spirit? This battle is a must, and his intervention would be detrimental to Chi-Chang-Ai. "Grandfather, can Senior Chi persevere?" Chen Yufeng stayed beside his grandfather and asked worriedly. Old ancestor Cheng said, "If you can't hold on to it, you have to fight it. Let's watch it." If old ancestor Cheng also felt that Chi-Chang-Ai was beyond his own power, the first invisible battle between old ancestor Ho Chi-Chang-Ai and old ancestor Ho just made his eyes light up. This kid is really talented, and he arrived ahead of schedule through swordsmanship. At that level, at this stage, you are indeed qualified to fight against God transformation. In other words, the first person under God transformation. This kid deserves this title. That is to say, compared to the cultivation base, Chi-Chang-Ai's swordsmanship reached the level of God transformation earlier. At this moment, old ancestor Ho was not happy at all, and scolded, "The kid is arrogant," but he decided in his heart that he must teach this kid a profound lesson. Even if there are hidden dangers to him, Ling Yunzong should not blame him. Come on, who let this kid provoke him first? Any consequences are self-inflicted. Otherwise, how can the majesty of the God-transforming power be so provocative? This is the common cognition of all the divine transformation powers. Chi-Chang-Ai slashed out with a sword, and old ancestor Ho waved his sleeves and sent it out with an invisible force. Boom boom boom. The coast collapsed, the sea water collapsed, and a large piece of them seemed to have been dug out from under them, but the wind was raging outside, and the sea roared and roared, as if it was about to tear apart everything in the world. Two completely different scenes were presented in front of the monks, making people reluctant to take their eyes off. However, in reality, just this blow affected the position where they were standing, and they had to quickly back up and withdraw from their battle range. Is this the power of the Yuanying Dachan cultivator? Really? Who questioned the title of the first person under Chi-Chang-Ai's transformation before? Whoever doubts it asks if there is the courage to take on the 1.5 move of God transformation. It is obvious that the movements of the two have slowed down to the extreme, and the naked eye can clearly distinguish them. However, at the moment of retreating, the two clearly fought several moves, again showing two images with two strong contrast. A higher level, for sword cultivators, is power. Mastering the power means controlling a field, which also makes the sword intent return from the tangible to the intangible realm. Within the range controlled by the potential, it is everywhere. With sword energy and sword intent, any cultivator who enters it will be torn apart, seriously injured, and even killed if he is not defeated. What's more, Chi Changai's thunder attribute makes his power full of aura of destruction, making old ancestor Ho from contempt at the beginning to the shock in his heart that he couldn't suppress. This kid has grown to such a degree that if he let it go, it may not take hundreds of years, it may only take a few decades to cross the threshold of the evolutionary god. For a moment, old ancestor Ho had an idea. Instead of letting such a younger generation grow up quickly and regard the Ho family as an enemy, it is better to take this opportunity to shovel out the monks on the island and then kill the monks on the island. Ling Yunzong also took him helpless. No, the evidence is that he got rid of Chi Changjai. However, this thought was only fleeting, because he saw that the island on the side below collapsed, and the sea water poured into the original island, but there was a place left intact. Guyao and his companions is staying there. Old ancestor Ho's pupils shrank slightly, but he actually ignored it. There is also a spirit transformation cultivator here, otherwise it would be impossible to resist the impact of his battle with Chi Changjai. Annoying. In an instant, he guessed who this person would be. Except for Cheng Lao, there is no one else. No one knows, but he knows Cheng Lao. The plan to silence the mouth will not work, but Chi Changjai must be taught a profound lesson, otherwise, where will not only the Ho family, but also his face as a spiritual cultivator? The first person under the transformation of the gods, the little friend can indeed bear it, but what is the transformation of the gods? Let this senior tell you. After saying that, the old ancestor Ho stretched out his hand and grabbed it in the air, and the space around him seemed to collapse. Usually, the strong wind and torrential rain outside approached him, and black cracks appeared in the sky above him. Old ancestor Chen knew that the old man knew of his existence, and he simply looked upright. Seeing this, he couldn't help but scolded the old man for being shameless, for using such a method to deal with a nascent soul Dachan cultivator. He still didn't make a move to stop him, because with him, Ho Lao couldn't make a deadly attack, and the extent of the injury would depend on Chi Changjai's own ability. Whether it can be cured or not depends on Guyao, the alchemist. What method is this? Guyao was startled and asked. It was old ancestor Ho who compressed his domain. Chi Changjai, this kid is in danger. Zhou Hu gloated and said, but this battle between him and cultivator Tang was far from enjoyable. Who can get the most out of it? The benefit belongs to the monks who are in the nascent soul Dachan, and if they take a step forward, they will be able to touch the edge of God transformation. However, this step is the most difficult to cross. The battle between these two people has made them see what this edge is, as if they can reach it. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 358. At the critical moment, the tip of Chi Changjai's purple thunder sword flickered with lightning, and the body of the sword trembled. The space he was in began to distort from the original nothingness. The stable space seems to collapse in an instant, but the thunder light at the tip of the sword has turned into a thunder ball, and it is getting bigger and bigger, conveying a palpitating aura of destruction. Old ancestor Ho's 5 fingers shrank inwards and pushed them forward. Even if they were far enough away, the cultivators on the sidelines could notice that with this extremely simple action, the space they were in seemed to freeze. Then it brings an overwhelming sense of suffocation, and the next moment will be crushed to pieces. Go, the lightning ball at the tip of the sword also flew forward, the blade of the purple thunder sword was cracked, and blood oozes from the corner of Chi Changjai's mouth, boom boom boom. At that moment, except for a few people, everyone lost their perception, as if the end of the world was coming. After the violent explosion reached a certain limit, their ears could no longer hear the sound, and the strong light stinged their eyes and suddenly went blind. "Oh, we're still alive," I thought this time watching the fun took away my life. Someone touched his heart, which was still beating, and he was afraid after his heart palpitated. "Look, the half of the island is gone. Is there any senior who helped us block the force of the impact?" Many monks opened their eyes. The place that collapsed originally belonged to the two people's feet, but now, in front of them, half of the island has disappeared, and the turbulent sea slapped over, but they could not reach their half of the island. An invisible barrier separates it. Looking further forward, there is a person standing on the sea, behind him is a house, the house also has an enchantment to separate it from the sea, and the alchemist Guyao, whose identity was revealed by the Ho family, is in that house, and there are others. A few fellow monks. Needless to say, the person standing on the sea was the one who protected them, and he was also a goddess. That's old ancestor Cheng. I didn't expect old ancestor Cheng to be on the island, and he was with alchemist Guyao and the others. Perhaps young master Cheng was already beside alchemist Guyao and the others, so old ancestor Cheng made this trip for his grandson. The Ho family made a big mistake this time. Huh? That person didn't die? Did he carry it over forcibly? Chi Changjai flew upside down in the air, and after stabilizing his figure, not only the corners of his mouth, but also blood beads oozing out from his body, the heavy load made his body also hurt by the sword chi, but at this moment his eyes became even more intense. It was dazzling, as if two small purple suns had risen. Although there were cracks in the body of the Xili sword, it was as high as its master. The sound of dragon roars sounded in the sword body, and it trembled in the air. Old ancestor Ho was stunned. The blow just wounded Chi Changjai, but it failed to destroy his will. Instead, it aroused his fighting spirit even more. Before he could think more, Chi Changjai grabbed the sword with one hand. He rushed over again, "Come again." The crowd, who were still talking about it, became quiet at this moment, and saw Chi Changjai rushing up to fight with old ancestor Ho again and again. In the ancestor's domain, the space of the domain was shaking, and the aura on Chi Changjai's body was also rising continuously during the battle, as if the person who vomited blood and injured was not the same person. Guyao was very worried about Chi Changjai's situation, but he also knew that this was an excellent opportunity for him to break through. The admiration in old ancestor Cheng's eyes grew stronger and stronger, and Zhou muttered, "Crazy, really crazy." However, his eyes were also getting brighter and brighter. What Zhou said was also the voice of other cultivators. "Isn't that just crazy? A nascent soul Dachan cultivator is so provocative and powerful that they would vomit blood." Chi Changjai, who almost became a man, dragged a long thunder lightwing with the sword in his hand, and slammed into old ancestor Ho's domain again. "Push it forward." Boom boom boom. The bearing capacity of the domain has reached its limit, and cracks are everywhere. After holding on for a while, it suddenly collapsed. Old ancestor Ho couldn't bear it. Xiu was injured. It will also break the realm of the power of the gods. It must be known that in his own realm, the power of God transformation is the sky, the earth, and is omnipotent. However, the current situation is that in the face of a powerful sword cultivator, the realm is not indestructible. Compared with old ancestor Ho, at this moment, Chi Changjai's injuries were even more serious. He flew far out in the air, blood spilled all the way, and the blade of the purple thunder sword also collapsed completely. The fragments burst out and fell into the sea, leaving only the Jian Xi and flew back to Chi Changjai's danshan. Guyao flew out, the dark green belt wrapped the person in the air and pulled it back, and quickly brought it back to the enchantment behind Cheng Lizu. Chang Ye coughed and laughed, and the blood couldn't stop flowing out. Guyao was about to cry, and he was still laughing at this time. What's the matter if he didn't hurry up? Old Ancestor Ho was furious and stared at Old Ancestor Cheng, who was still standing in front of the barrier. He understood what Old Ancestor Cheng meant. He wanted to take action to get rid of the possible hidden danger of Qi Changjai. Although Old Ancestor Cheng did not interfere in the competition between the two, he would not watch Qi Changjai die. And at this moment, the people on the island have already sent out the news, and he has no chance to make a move. He rolled his sleeves and snorted, "The world of comprehension is indeed full of talents, and among the younger generations, fellow Daoist Qi is the first person, old man. With the Ho family at Yunwang Island, we are waiting for Daoist Qi and Master Gu Alchemy to visit. Let's go." Old Ancestor Ho rolled up the people of the Ho family and fled, and the people of the Ho family also didn't react. To be able to force the ancestors of the gods to such a level, how can any one of them do it? Ho Moi Wan thought that for this trip, the ancestors secretly swept the array, and they would complete their task very successfully, and invited Qi Changjai and Gu Yao to the Ho family as guests. Old Ancestor Ho was not able to subdue a descendant of nascent soul in Qi Changjai, but instead pushed the sword cultivator to the top of the cloud. Since then, this person's name will be spread throughout the ancient Wanghai. The one who could not accept the scene the most was Ho Yingjia. He thought that if the ancestor appeared, he would definitely help him avenge the humiliation and let this group of people die without a place to be buried. What happened? Qi Changjai, a Yuanying sword cultivator, was able to injure his ancestor. He, a genius cultivator of the Ho family, was bleak, and even caused his status in the family to plummet because of this incident. I won't take him seriously anymore. Ho Yingjia returned to Yunwang Island with his clan in a daze, waiting for him to know what the situation would be. The news of the battle between Old Ancestor Ho and Qi Changjai was passed back to Yunwang Island one step before them. No one believed that a nascent soul Dachan sword cultivator could wound Old Ancestor Ho, and rebuttals could be heard everywhere. When the image stone of this battle reaches Yunwang Island, will they still be able to hold on to their views? Old Ancestor Cheng received a summons from Old Ancestor Lu and asked him if the facts were exaggerated. Old Ancestor Cheng sent him a picture directly, that is, the scene where Qi Changjai finally defeated Old Ancestor Ho's domain. Old Ancestor Lu watched it, speechless for a long time. With the departure of the monks on the island, Qi Changjai's reputation has also spread in Guwanghai, and many Yuanying monks have been looking for his whereabouts, wanting to challenge him to see if he can afford the first place in the younger generation. A person's name. However, Qi Changjai and his party seemed to have disappeared. No one knew where they were. Even Old Ancestor Cheng returned to his island. Facing the inquiries of other god-transforming colleagues, there was only one answer, that is, he didn't know. The island also became famous in the first battle. Although only half of it remains, the liveliness has not diminished. There are constantly monks coming to the island to observe the damage caused by the war. All the forces who were looking for alchemist Gu Yao had to give up, waiting for when they would show up again. Now it is conceivable, where are they staying to heal their wounds? On a sea-going boat, several young monks stood on the boat, watching the rough sea, talking and laughing, with a gesture of pointing the country. It's been half a year, and those few, including young Master Cheng, haven't shown up again. Where did you say they were hiding? It is said that fellow Daoist Qi was seriously injured at that time. Can his injury be healed? You forgot that the ancient alchemist is the Taoist companion of fellow Daoist Qi. The ancient alchemist is very good at alchemy, so it should not be a problem to take care of the injury. But the problem is that the ancient alchemist's alchemy skills are really as good as rumored. The cold poison on the sun? My father explained it, and the others are nothing. This ancient alchemist must find a way to make friends. Unfortunately, we have traveled so many places with the boat, but there is no clue. It's not necessarily because of the ancient alchemist's alchemy skills. You forgot that fellow Taoist Tian has green flames on his body. With him, he can always help young Master Cheng relieve the pain of the cold poison attack. It's too early to say these things, we can only wait for when they will show up. If you want me to say, this time Ho Yingjia and Ho San Gongzi are the ones who have made a big mistake. They are empty of money and people, haha. It has always been on the top of the head, how can we look down on people like us, and as a result, after a long night, we fell from the high altar. Some of these people are the sons of noble families, some are proud disciples in the sect, they get together to go out to practice, and some are secretly tasked with finding the whereabouts of Guyao and Qi Changjai, because they are monks of the same age as Qi Changjai and Guyao. It should be better to communicate. Just stop and go, but nothing to gain. The siren on the ship suddenly sounded. No, there is a group of sea beasts coming to us, please join the fellow deists on the boat to help resist the sea beasts. In his voice, he had already seen the figures of the group of sea beasts, some of them moving on the sea like hills, not yet arrived, the tyrannical breath spread to the ship. Prepare to fight, this group of sea beasts is not weak. After seeing the situation clearly, the cultivator knew that he could not stand by and watch. He experienced a lot of such things along the way, so he quickly entered the state. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 359. The sea beasts are getting closer and closer, and there is anxiety mixed with the violent aura. The monks who often walk on the sea have a bad premonition. The ship owner quickly ordered, quick, lift the sea ship into the air, this is likely to be a group of sea beasts that are being hunted down. Quick. If they are unfortunately involved in the battle between two groups of sea beasts, their ships will be torn to shreds no matter how strong they are. With an order, the crew quickly moved away, and in a blink of an eye, the sea ship was lifted into the sky, and the scene in front was immediately seen. Behind the group of sea beasts, a large area of dark green was rolling. It was this thing that rolled the sea beasts. Escape. The cultivator who saw this situation was stunned. What is it, so terrible? The strongest sea beasts below have reached the middle stage of nascent soul, and they can be regarded as the overlords of the sea. Could it be that the sea beasts behind this are even more powerful? Powerful. Those sea beasts jumped under the sea boat and roared at the monks above. The instinct to survive let them know that if there was the sea boat, they could help them drag the big guy behind them for a while, but they didn't have much time to stay. Hurriedly hit the top and then jumped forward quickly. The ship opened the defensive cover before resisting the various attacks below. However, the dark green things behind made them even more afraid, and they held the spiritual weapons in their hands, ready to fight at any time. No, that's the sea belt. What? Not a sea beast. One by one, they leaned on the railings and looked down. Some parts came out of the sea. Isn't that the kelp leaves that the monks living in the sea are familiar with? So it was the sparse and ordinary kelp that scared the out of the group of sea beasts in front? I remember that there was a mutated sea belt around alchemist Guyao, someone suddenly whispered. Yes, I think other than the peculiar kelp beside alchemist Guyao, there is no other person in Gu Wanghai who has such a pet. Wait a minute, everyone, I'll come when I go. One person flew out from the protective cover of the sea ship, swept down, and shouted loudly, "Is alchemist Guyao here? I have admired alchemist's alchemy technique for a long time, and I hope alchemist Gu can come out and see." The dark green waves below suddenly stopped, and more leaves were exposed on the sea surface, as if there were countless pairs of eyes looking upwards, making one's scalp numb, and the shrinkage was nothing. Not all monks can afford it. Several more cultivators flew down, and they also felt that Guya's eye was more likely to be a pet, and they did not expect to meet at such a sea. The owner of the ship has naturally heard of the earth-shattering battle half a year ago. Knowing the name of Qi Changjai and his Taoist companion Guyao, Is it really them? Quickly asked the crew to lower the ship a little. Just when they thought there was no movement, there seemed to be a sharp arrow coming from the sea in the distance. When they got close, everyone realized that it was a large piece of kelp carrying a transparent bubble and rolled the water. There are two people standing in the bubble, but they are not Chi Changjai and Guyao in the crazy photo-taking stone. The two broke out of the water and the bubbles dissipated, but they were still lifted into the air by the sea belt. Guyao smiled and said, "Mou is naughty and disturbed everyone. I'm really sorry. I don't know what this fellow Taoist is looking for." Presumably the sea beasts who had run far ahead would feel very wronged when they heard this. The cultivator who dared to call out Guyao's identity at first, but at this time, facing Guyao's smiling face, he became cautious and stammered, "Chen Jings, who is in Fiwa Island, my father has prepared a gift and wants to give it to Gu alchemist." Guyao remembered the map of Gu Wanghai. Isn't the surname of the island owner of Fiwa Island not Chen? So he said, "Your father is the owner of Chen Island." Bottle. At a glance, he swept out the cultivator's problem. Although he had condensed the infant, something went wrong when he broke through, causing the nascent soul to be flawed, and a trace of demons was entangled in the nascent soul. If the problem is not resolved, the cultivation base of the person will not be able to go any further, and it may even cause the inner demon to break out, then the problem will be big. Chen Jing was overjoyed, and his face flushed. Yes, it is the heartbreaking pill, Master Gu has good eyesight." Chen Jing hurriedly took out the generous gift prepared by his father, as well as the materials for refining the broken heart pill, which is extremely difficult to refine. Guyao did not refuse. The medicinal pills were sent out, the generous gifts and refining materials were accepted, and the other cultivators who were with Chen Jing's were all tongue-tied about his concealment. Tight, but it's really not easy to reveal this situation, otherwise someone will maliciously lead out the demons, and it's not far from death. On the other hand, he felt that Chen Jing's was usually stunned, but he was so flexible at the critical moment, and he even asked him to ask for a pill. He immediately shared their request with Guyao, and took out the best things from him. Some people are ready to meet Guyao's situation, so they bring all the materials, but some people think that it is not too late to transfer the materials when someone finds it, so as not to be robbed in the middle. It is not good, so at this time, some people like others. I'm worried. Guyao treats them equally, those who have prepared materials, and those who have this kind of medicinal pill on him, have all taken out and traded with them. Apart from Chen Jing's, the most enviable one is the owner of the sea-going ship. Because the ship carried a lot of materials, he took out all these materials and traded them. Guyao gave all the medicinal herbs, and the transaction was completed. His mouth twitched afterward. The sea belt supported Guyao and Chi Changjai and dived into the sea again. Soon the dark green disappeared in the sea area and disappeared. The sea boat only fell to the sea at this time, and they all praised Guyao and Chi Changjai. People are amazing people. Those monks who regret it will not talk about it for the time being. Other monks who traded medicine pills did not expect Guyao to talk so well. It was completely different from what they imagined. After all, Chi Changjai tore off the face of the Ho family and stomped on the ground. So they thought that both of them would be rebellious, very arrogant. When they met, they realized that Guyao was very gentle. Although Chi Changjai didn't speak, he stayed by Guyao's side and didn't interfere. Didn't it say that Daiochi was seriously injured until he didn't show up? Now it seems that Daiochi is clearly doing well. What kind of mess is there? This time, the pills that the ancient alchemist brought out are really top-grade pills. If I knew that I had brought out all the spirit grass and spirit materials from the family, I regretted it to death. Ship owner, after docking, can you sell me a few pills in your hand? Bah! How many pills are left? I don't have a single pill. I want to use all of this medicinal pill as a family heirloom for my own use. It must be properly set up, The owner of the ship was so happy that he actually met a noble this time out to sea. When they arrived at their destination and the monks on the ship were scattered all over the place, the news about Guyao and Chi Changjai's appearances spread quickly. There was a long time ago that Chi Changjai's injuries were healed, and it was also a strong proof that Guyao was good at alchemy. Many monks exchanged the best pills from Guyao, and immediately attracted many monks to rush to the sea area where they appeared, and searched around for the starting point. Come. Although there were those who wanted to challenge Chi Changjai, most of them wanted to find Guyao for pills, and then they searched at sea, but they found no trace of them, and they were disappointed. After more than half a month, the monks gathered in the sea area dispersed. I also knew that the other party was afraid of trouble and moved their positions after they separated from the monk. Coupled with more and more descriptions of the sea belt, many monks suddenly discovered that it is very difficult to find Guyao in Gyeonghai. They are more adapted to the sea environment here than they are, and they can go almost anywhere. They can't help but envy Guyao's good luck and the pet plant in his hands. As they expected, after the Ho family left, and after stabilizing Chi Changjai's injuries a little, Guyao took Chi Changjai to escape with the others and went to the sea. Chen Yufeng did not go back with his grandfather, followed by Guyao. If nothing happens, the sea will play in the sea. What happens on the bottom of the sea can hardly escape the eyes of it and Guyao. The sea may not be recognized due to low intelligence, but now there is Guyao to help, attaching the consciousness to the sea. As a result, he discovered a small secret hidden deep under the sea. Guyao regarded it as a retreat. After the Ho family had completely torn apart their faces, it would be difficult for them to show up again, and they also needed a place to heal Chi Changjai, so they were taken by the sea, and everyone fled to that small secret realm. That place is very deep under the sea, and even nascent soul cultivators can't dive that deep, but with the sea, they can really run anywhere. There are spiritual veins in the small secret realm, the spiritual energy is rich, and there are many rare spiritual grasses and other spiritual materials, so they are in the small secret. Due to the fracture and rebuilding, coupled with the fact that he has been practicing body training for all these years, although the injury seems to be extremely serious on the surface, it has not hurt his foundation. Guyao is also practicing in the small secret realm, refining alchemy and then studying the cold poison on Chen Yufeng's body. After Chi Changjai's injury settles down, he doesn't need to worry about it, so the few people lived a very comfortable life. The spiritual energy in the small secret realm was consumed very quickly by them. These people were all big eaters of spiritual energy, so after half a year, they decided to transfer, and the others went to the nearby island to replenish supplies. Guyao and Chi Changjai were there. Playing in the sea, this is the encounter before. When their whereabouts were exposed, they naturally moved immediately according to the previous meaning. They still stayed in the sea and did not go ashore. Compared with the development of materials on the island, the deep sea bed is the place with the most abundant resources, and some are good places that have not been discovered by the monks. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 360. The spiritual veins in the depths of the sea are no less than those on the island. Although some are also occupied by sea beasts, there are still some without owners. They look for such spiritual veins to release their own caves and use them for cultivation. As for Tian Firong, a fire attribute cultivator, he asked the sea to help him find a seabed crater with rich spiritual energy, which not only did not delay his cultivation, but also had many benefits. In addition to practicing, he was wandering around in Gyeonghai, repairing the blade of Chi Changjai's purple thunder sword. With the increasing improvement of Chi Changjai's swordsmanship, the original sword body seemed to lag a bit, so it could not support the collapse in the fight. This time, it was necessary to create a better sword body for the purple thunder sword. There are countless treasures under the sea, and sometimes they also land on the island, trade the unusable spiritual materials they find to the people of the Eagle Firm, and exchange the good things they need from the other party. Flying Eagle firm took this opportunity to hold several high-level auctions, which attracted the attention of all parties in Guanghai. This firm usually does not show mountains and dew. If you get your hands, could it be that there is a divine power behind this Flying Eagle firm? However, the upcoming auction has aroused the shock of all parties, and they sent cultivators to the auction venue, including those big men who have not shown up for many years, and they couldn't help but walk out of the cave. The other treasures of heaven and earth are nothing more than that. For some spiritual monks, even if they are tempted, they may not necessarily get it. This time, there were Jin Yuandan at the auction, and there were 2 top-quality Jin Yuandan, so how can one sit still? At first, it was only the top-grade Jin Yuandan that attracted cultivators from all over the world. When they saw the auction list, everyone became more curious about the origin of the Flying Eagle firm. Could this Flying Eagle firm be opened by the sect forces on the mainland? From Guanghai? Does it belong to Lingyun sect? Otherwise, how could there be a variety of need for pill auctions? The top-grade Jin Yuandan affects more than all the forces in Guanghai, including the sect forces on the mainland, which are also shaken. One pill can prolong life by 500 lifespan. For monks who have few remaining lifespans, it is simply the magic elixir. Therefore, after hearing Guanghai's questioning about Feiying firm, the top of Lingyunzong quickly said that Lingyunzong always abides by the agreement with all parties in Guanghai, and has not developed its own power in Guanghai. Afterwards, old ancestor Cheng made a voice that Feiying commercial firm neither belongs to Lingyun sect nor Guyao alchemist, but they have been cooperating in recent years, and this has only slightly repulsed the minds of all parties, otherwise they would have to join hands with Xiangfei. Eagle firm pressured. Since old ancestor Cheng spoke on behalf of Feiying business, it meant that he was standing behind Feiying, and if he had protection, all parties would have to weigh whether they could make a move. Before the auction started, the island where it was held was crowded with bigwigs from all over the world, and the children of the aristocratic families who used to be arrogant in the past, all shrank their heads in the face of these pressures, for fear that they would be bad luck. Thinking that Ho Yingji's lesson not long ago was bad enough, as long as the reputation of Guyao and Qi Chengjai hangs there, Ho Yingji is afraid that he will not be able to overcome his inner demon easily. Jin Yuandan, I heard that the alchemist who can refine the top-grade Jin Yuandan has already stepped into the threshold of the 5th-grade alchemist. Guyao is really amazing, and his cultivation has not yet reached the threshold. At this level, Senior Qi is really fortunate to have found such a Taoist companion. No matter how severe the injury is, he can be repaired. It is no wonder that the old ancestor Ho fought so hard before. This is the confidence. Hey, I heard you say that the cultivation base of the ancient alchemist is a little low for Senior Qi, but this time he changed his words. The face of the person who was teased was flushed, and he quickly covered his face and ran away. Everyone is not interested in him, and the focus of the discussion is still on Guyao and Qi Chengjai. Who will appear this time before, and the scene of rushing for the auction will be very intense, so it is a blessing to be able to enter the auction hall and witness the scene. This time, alchemist Guyao will definitely be there. Those top-grade pills will be given priority to exchange for top-grade spiritual materials. These spiritual materials should be what Guyao alchemist and Senior Qi need, especially the materials with thunder properties. At first glance, it was prepared for Senior Qi. No, so the prices of those spiritual materials outside have skyrocketed recently, and they don't treat them as spiritual stones anymore. Alchemists are amazing. Others are scrambling to send them spiritual materials. Such a one? You have the talent of alchemist Guyao, and of course there will be no shortage of spirit stones. In Yunwang Island, the Lu family had a disagreement about Jin Yuandan. The film was to be filmed, but the key was who would take it after the filming. It is said that if the top quality Jin Yuandan is photographed, it is best to take it for Lu Lazu. A new deity turning cultivator can't be compared to old ancestor Lu. After all, he has been famous for many years. But for the party who wants to be in power, they feel that Lu ancestor will live for another 500 years, which will be a bit of an eyesore and block the way, so he tries his best to fight for himself. Just as he was about to set off, old ancestor Lu, who was in retreat, suddenly pushed Lu Qingfeng to appear in front of everyone, causing the seniors of the Lu family to panic. Almost exclaimed. Old ancestor Liu's hair and beard had already turned white, but this time it appeared, but it turned black a lot. Why is this? Ancestor, you. Lu Patriarch was speechless when he saw the blackened beard of the ancestor, and had a bad premonition in his heart, but his eyes swept across Lu Qingfeng in a wheelchair and wondered if he would worry too much. Lu Qingfeng looked at the expressions of these tribesmen with cold eyes, and felt happy in his heart. He didn't expect Gu Yao to improve his cultivation so quickly and successfully refine the top quality Jinyuan Dan, which the ancestor took immediately after he got it. In the past few years, I have traded the best healing medicinal pills from Gu Yao through the Flying Eagle firm, so the physical condition of the ancestors has improved even more. Could it be that the ancestors have already used Jinyuan Dan? Someone from the clan boldly guessed. Most people think it's impossible, but seeing that there is no negative expression on the ancestor's face, a sigh in their hearts, when will the ancestor and the alchemist of Gu Yao be connected? Besides, Jinyuan Kyo is so good, they know that the ancestor never had this thing in his hands. He suddenly looked down at Lu Qingfeng, who was sitting in a wheelchair with a calm face. Could it be that these were all made by Lu Qingfeng, who they regarded as a waste? Lu Qingfeng raised his eyes and smiled. Qingfeng accidentally got acquainted with alchemist Gu Yao, and asked him to refine Jinyuan Dan for the ancestor. The ancestor can increase his lifespan by 500. Isn't it a good thing for the Lu family and everyone? There was an endless sarcasm in this smile. Who dares to say that it is not a good thing? No matter how careful they are, they only dare to fight behind their backs. Whoever dares to provoke his authority in front of the ancestor, he can suppress this clan at any time and support another clan. That Feiying firm? Lu Patriarch asked in a trembling voice. Ancestor Lu said impatiently, that's just something that the kid Qingfeng made to pass the time when he was bored. The Lu family has their own business, so can't they see the little things in this kid's hands? Patriarch Lu almost vomited blood. Is this a tiny thing? Of course, what is more valuable about Lu Qingfeng is the relationship between him and Gu Yao. If you think about the expansion of Feiying firm in recent years, and the top-grade pills that appeared in the auction, you can know that the relationship between Lu Qingfeng and Gu Yao is absolutely irresistible. Abnormal. Thinking about how the Ho family hunted down people in the city a few years ago, but with no results, now I know the answer, because the people were protected by Lu Qingfeng, maybe even in Lu Qingfeng's other courtyard, maybe old ancestor Lu also intervened. The old man and Qingfeng take a step first, so as not to let the monks who do not have long eyes deceive the Feiying business. You can do it yourself. After speaking, Lu Lezu waved his sleeves and rolled up Lu Qingfeng and disappeared in front of them. The island where the auction is located is not far from Yunwang Island, so it didn't take long for old ancestor Lu and old ancestor Cheng to sit and chat together. The mood of the two meeting this time was a lot easier. Of course, for the rest of the Lu family, old ancestor Cheng was not so polite. It was found out that the grandson was injured and suffered from cold poison. Cheng Lezu directly abolished the Lu family's girls' cultivation, and did not do anything to cover it up. At first, the Lu family wanted to ask Cheng Lezu for an explanation. Cheng Lezu just replied, let them ask the reason for themselves. At this time, Lu Yuying just wanted to hide it, but she couldn't hide it. Even if she didn't say it, the people around her would betray her, so she could only explain the original matter in despair. She was the direct branch of the Lu family, and she could. Patriarch Lu was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Old ancestor Cheng just abolished Lu Yuying and the cultivator who shot with her. This is because Chen Yufeng doesn't have to worry about his life. Otherwise, in a rage, it is not known whether the ancestor Chen will kill the Lu family. With only 2 big bosses, old ancestor Cheng said without hesitation, this kid Qingfeng is much more capable than the other children of your Lu family. If one day he can remove the toxins from his body, he may be able to soar into the sky. The torment of the body is not a kind of tempering of the mind, not to mention that under such circumstances, the Eagle Trading Company has grown to the scale it is today. Even if he does not go out, the big and small things outside cannot escape his ears. Zio looked at it now, not to mention Qi Changjai and Guyao, who was a waste in the eyes of others, much better than that child in the Ho family. Old ancestor Lu said with a smile, your Yufeng is not bad, but the cold poison on his body has been resolved. I also count on Gu alchemist to help Qingfeng. Old ancestor Cheng said with a smile, the news came back a few days ago that the poison on his body was cured, but the cold was left behind. This child is originally a double spirit root, but the water spirit root is relatively weak, and he has never practiced the water system exercises. I don't know this time. What method did Master Gu alchemist use to make Yufeng cultivate the water spirit root at the same time, and absorb most of the cold in his body, so he is a cultivator of nascent soul after all.